It's Chris Sells His Soul. I'm your host, Chris Bogue, and this is my show on LinkedIn Live where I have conversations with cool people who will help you work more creatively. Today, my guest is Tim Davidson. Tim, say hi and please let my audience know where we can find you online.
Hello, Chris. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited. My name is Tim Davidson. I'm the director of marketing at a performance marketing agency called Directive. Which is bleeding into my full-time job. I'm a semi-funny B2B content creator, create some kind of like videos, some fruit cutting stuff, and some skits making fun of marketing and sales. You can follow me on LinkedIn. That's right. I think it's right.
Yeah, there it is. Go scan the barcode, take your phone out, switch it to camera mode. Follow Tim on LinkedIn. He's very funny. He's very strange. I don't think that's an insult to say that. I'm strange too, but if you like weird, interesting content and learning about paid and organic content in the meantime, definitely go follow Tim Davidson. So, Tim, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Everybody, if you don't know me, my name is Chris Bogue. So I am the host of this show. I am an entrepreneur and coach and sketch comedian. I coach people to make mercifully short video content. Sometimes that's video prospecting for sales. Sometimes that's video content for marketing. But it's all short and it's all designed to bring revenue to your company. So you can check me out. I am a content creator. You can click my bell, follow me on LinkedIn if you want new updates and new comedy all the time. And before we begin today's episode, I want to hear from you. So if you are in the comments today, please go ahead and leave a comment. Say hello. Tell us where you're listening from. We don't know if you're here if you don't leave a comment, so be sure to let us know. And if you have any questions about content, if you have any questions about LinkedIn or marketing or video, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Tim and I are going to try to answer as many questions as we can throughout the show. And don't ask him about the fruit cutting because I'm going to ask him that real soon. But yeah, welcome everybody. And Tim Davidson, let's get it started. So I have been doing content on LinkedIn for about 2.5 years now. And you were one of the first people I noticed because you are a fellow just goofy guy who's just out here doing video all the time. And yeah, how did you start doing this? When did you start putting creative video content out there on LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've been on LinkedIn. I was probably on LinkedIn before even doing videos, like 6 to 8 months before that. Mm-hmm. I was just doing text posts, very plain. And I was just running out of ideas really. And I saw it was the emergence of TikTok I saw, and I started seeing like all these creators that were kind of interesting doing skits, and I thought it was pretty fun. But on LinkedIn, if you look through LinkedIn a year and a half ago, especially, it was just all the talking head stuff. It was all pretty boring. And I just didn't. I needed to do something different, and I knew I was kind of weird. I've always tried to make videos. Tried making videos in like 2014, like lacrosse GoPro stuff. It didn't really work out for me, but I always wanted to get back into that, and so I started creating these kind of skits, making fun of sales and marketing. Didn't do well. They're pretty bad, but I kept at it, and I kept evolving, and I started finding the more I did kind of like comedic type of style, I would get a lot more engagement, a lot more, just a lot more comments and things like that. And so I kept going with that. And it's just, I'm so glad I did, because I just ran out of ideas with text posts. It was just game changer to do video.
Yeah. I guess, so the question on everybody's mind, Natalie, thank you for the kind words. I'm glad you enjoyed my Little Mermaid tribute. So Tim has gotten this recent reputation as a guy who is always just cutting fruit. Like if anybody's ever seen any of Tim's recent videos, including the one that we did for our promo, for our comedy sketch this week to promote the show, Tim is always cutting some sort of fruit. So I got to be the one to ask, why, Tim? Why? Why are you like this? Why do you do this? Please explain.
Yeah. So
Jesus.
even with the
If
skits,
you're watching the audio episode, he's cutting a kiwi with a mini axe head. For those of you who are listening to the audio version of this episode. I'm sorry, continue.
yeah, even with the skits, I was running out of ideas. Again, it's the idea thing. But I also knew, like I said, the talking head, there's a lot of things I knew I wanted to talk about, whether it's like advertising, that's kind of my background, or just one-off things. But like I tried the talking head style, like because everyone else does it, right? You just kind of like sit in front of the camera, like, hey, blah blah blah, advertising, it's cool. It sucked. It just sucked. I hated doing it. It was not fun for me. And then I saw someone cooking and telling stories, and I found myself watching those a lot. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Why can't I try something like that? I tried unboxing at first. There's probably a video on my LinkedIn still that has me unboxing and talking about something. Problem with that is I'm not gonna, my wife would be very mad if I bought Amazon stuff every single day. So I need to find something different, and I started doing it while I eat. But then one day I started cutting fruit, and it kind of you saw the engagement. And I just saw the engagement. And people were like, hey, how about you do a pineapple? Because I think the first one I cut was a kiwi. How do you do a pineapple? I'm like, oh, okay. Got a pineapple, got a watermelon. And then I started getting weird fruit. And you start getting into different weapons, or not weapons, like cutlery.
It's escalating to weapons.
Yeah, it's escalation. But there's a lot of fruit, a lot of different cutlery, and there's a lot of requests. So you can just keep going with it, and you start seeing that kind of play out. To me, the biggest reason I would say is I can do more videos. I can just do more in less time, because the skits take a long time. Those were working well, and they still do, like skits, like marketing and sales skits, making fun of each other. But they take so much time compared to the fruit. So being able to add like a different kind of thing to the videos has been very helpful.
Yeah, well, so there's a reason why Tim is on today's episode. It's not just because the fruit cutting thing, which I think is hilarious. It's also because Tim does a lot of work understanding paid ads and paid marketing. You're not someone who's just going out there doing whatever. Like, you are a person who understands, like, you're deep in understanding, like, what makes money, what kind of content actually generates revenue for companies. So, like, is this something that you saw in the data, or did you just realize it doesn't matter if, like, the physical activity is related to the words you're saying? Or, like, what about the data convinced you that, like, no, this is actually, like, a sensible strategy for content?
Yeah, because in the data, what I saw was just basically more people watching, because they were not only following what I was talking about, and maybe not everyone does, probably definitely don't, but other people were following along to watch what was going on with the fruit, but also, the end part, right? Like, is he gonna try the fruit? And that's especially true when I started getting to different fruits, like a durian that's like really weird to cut and all that. So like people that don't understand what that is. But it's just kind of like something that people can follow along with while you talk. It seems like, yeah, in theory, great. People just follow along with you just talking, but it's hard for me to just sit there and watch the talking head style video. It's hard for me to sit there during a presentation. So you got to do something that like keeps people engaged while you talk, and that way they can hear what you're saying. Again, maybe half don't, but that's fine. But the others will hear what you're saying while you do that thing, and they'll actually hear what the information you're trying to get out.
Yeah, this is interesting because, like, I'm a sketch comedian. I used to write and direct sketch shows at Chicago's Second City. And I kind of went on a similar progression as you, where, like, I wanted to be a sales trainer because I do the video prospecting thing. And I was doing it at a time where, like, I was on a sales team where nobody knew how to make videos. And I could just bust out 25 in an afternoon because I've got experience on camera. So I started creating LinkedIn content. And I was just doing, like, hey, here's my 3 cold calling tips, here's how to objection handle here, just kind of basic sales stuff. And the comedy started sneaking its way in. And the more I surveyed my audience, the more they're like, no, we want more comedy. We like when you're doing the character works. We like the cutaways. We like the humor. And it's become this really odd thing, because people who don't do marketing, people who don't spend time on LinkedIn, they're like, oh, won't the fact that it's comedy, won't that turn off quote unquote serious buyers? And and maybe you could get deeper into this too. The more I do this, the more I find, no, I need to do it because this works on everybody. Like, just because someone has a lot of money, or somebody has a impressive job title, or someone is really valuable to my company from a revenue standpoint, that doesn't mean that they don't like being entertained by things. And we see the fruit cutting, but you're right, it is more of a story. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end to it. And watching the progression of what you're doing is how you keep them engaged with the message. So have you faced any pushback on this, or have you ever had to like dispel any wrong ideas about the fact that like odd content actually is like smarter strategically?
I think I am lucky in the sense that the company I work for, Directive, I've never had to deal with any of those kind of issues. Like they have always backed me on like things I try, because and don't get me wrong, I'm pretty good at what I do, right? Like I figure out how to make things good. Like I'll test things. I'm not gonna just, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and I'll test something different. But I am in a place where I don't have to. I've never had to put up with that kind of scrutiny. That said, I've also put these kind of videos on TikTok, and you get a different kind of comment. People would just bash you about the cutting, which I'm not the best cutter. I understand that.
Oh, you're way better than me. I make people uncomfortable with how bad my knife handling skills are. They're like, he's gonna hurt someone.
And that's actually, it's funny because you do get comments like that, like that was so close to your thumb, or like people that are actually professional like chefs, and they're just like scared for me, I guess. Maybe that's part of it's part of the skit. But to your question, like, and to your point, more, it's different. It's comedic. It's even, especially like in B2B. I hate that kind of stigma that people are so serious in B2B, because people are people, right? Like they're people. They cry, they laugh, they do stupid things. They all, do really stupid things. Like I'm thinking of really bad things when I say stupid things. I don't want to say them, but like,
oh, people are idiots. Me especially. I do stuff and I'm like, that was a complete waste of time. Like, why did I spend an hour watching that? I'm like, this is like some cartoon from the 30s that, people get obsessed about the weirdest things, but nobody, like, it's very common for people to get sucked into something unusual and go down a rabbit hole online. Yeah. What's unusual is someone saying, I just feel like I need 3 marketing tips right now. If only somebody would give me 5 cold calling mistakes to avoid. That's actually not really a thing people seek out as much. Or maybe you're the paid ads expert guy. So maybe I actually don't understand this as well as you. All my stuff is designed to just showcase what I can offer companies. And I do a lot of creative stuff because I'm trying to find the people who want to be out there doing it too. Have you actually compared like what companies see with the quote unquote serious, like, are there people who do the serious talking head stuff really well? Because I just see people get burnt out on it usually. Like they give up.
No, there is people that do it really well. But I think they got to that point for whatever reason. They're just so big where it does work very well all the time now. Because like, so if I was doing talking head style and I'm Seth Godin, more people are going to listen to me.
True.
Right? Like it's a completely different thing. Like if you're pretty well known in the space, you have a different kind of reputation, people are going to listen to you more than someone with a Pokemon shirt on. It's just the truth. I'm also not a CEO, a CMO that has 50 years experience in cybersecurity or whatever it is. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So like, yeah, the talking head style does work for some people, but not. But after like that, there's that level, and then you got to figure out how you're going to be different. Because if everyone else, because a lot of people do the talking head style because it's the easiest. You create a live show like this, and you just take 50 different segments from this, and you put it on LinkedIn. Everyone can do that. It's too easy. There's AI that does that now. But how do you stick out if everyone's doing that?
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about some other weird things I've seen you do. So I don't know if you still do this. You used to run a job ad that was just like your picture. Like it was like, hey, here's jobs you could apply for. And it was just Tim Davidson and like there's your headshot and phone number. And I'm like, oh, that's funny that Tim's like where he's not supposed to be. But again, Tim, why? what was the thinking there? What were you doing there?
Yeah, I don't think I put my phone number.
Okay.
I think that would have been bad. I already get like too many calls because I bought a domain a long time ago and I didn't buy the $2 insurance or whatever it was. But I did, yeah. So advertising background, they are called spotlight ads or text ads. I was doing both. They show up like what you're talking about on the right side of the desktop screen. The reason I did this because that is my background, right? Advertising and then the content side of it. So I was trying to figure out like how do I advertise myself, and I don't even know what my end game was. I didn't say like, oh, I need this many followers, I need to make revenue off of this. Like there's none of, I don't think about it like that. It's more of like an investment in my personal brand, I guess.
Yeah.
But because you're talking about it right now, because there's been people that have DM'd me, I think it's valuable because it's just, again, it's different. You see them all the time. It's just like companies, and then you see someone's face with glasses on it. You're like, oh, okay. And then you might see them in the feed cutting fruit. And it's like, oh, okay. And then you put the two together. I just think personally it's valuable, and it's not a lot of cost because I do have an advertising background. I know how to use those things correct. So if someone else did it, it might have been a lot more costly. But for me, the investment was pretty low to get, the DMs for someone to talk about it, I've had people post about it in LinkedIn. To me, that makes sense.
Well, it's interesting too. You bring up an important point. If you're Tony Robinson and you just want to put a video out there of you talking about sales, people are going to watch it because you're Tony Robinson and you've got this like big following.
It's Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Yeah, clear. I don't follow enough big sales influencers. Tony Robbins. If you're just building an audience, you're going to get people who like you who don't know your name.
Yeah.
And I think we both run into that. I know for the past 2 weeks, have been telling people, I'm like, oh, Tim Davidson's on my show. And they're like, oh, I'm like, he's the guy that's always cutting fruit. And they're like, oh, I know that guy. People have shown me, like, people will come up to them and they'll be like, who's that guy? He does like weird, like sketch comedy on LinkedIn that I've seen. And like, they remember the thing that I did, but they don't remember that my name is Chris Bogue. But someone showed me if you type in like sales sketch comedy LinkedIn, I pop right up, because like I've spent a lot of work trying to be that guy. And yeah, I guess that's one thing that I'm noticing as you're talking here is like, if you don't have that name recognition, if you're not instantly drawing an audience because people see your name in a subject line, you have to find some way to get noticed for the things you're doing. And if you're doing the exact same thing that everybody else is doing, it's not going to get noticed. One last thing, and this is, if nobody saw me and Tim's comedy sketch this week, what we did was we did this weird experiment based on another thing that Tim does, which, by the way, I'm just going to start doing regularly now. I would notice that I would see different posts blowing up on LinkedIn. And what Tim would do is he would comment with a link to a Loom video of him responding. And we had some fun this week. I did a stunt where I'm like, hey, if you respond to this on video, I'll leave a video comment for you. I'm a SendSpark guy. I'm an advisor for them. So I would leave a SendSpark link. I had a lot of fun doing that. Can you tell me a little bit about like when you started commenting with videos and like what does that do differently than just leaving a regular text-based comment?
Oh, yeah. I cannot remember why I started doing it. You know what? I do remember. Okay. No, I do. Yeah, I do. Okay. The reason I started doing it, now the reason I do it is, again, it's different. And I remember this because I told people this would work and no one did it. I think 2 people did it. So I was like, all right, obviously I have to try it myself and actually do it. And the feedback was pretty interesting. But the reason I started doing it was because similar to the post that we did, when I hit like 10,000 followers, I made this like joke, like, oh, I actually made a course, like being kind of serious, which I'm not usually serious. But in the comments, I put a Loom video with the course. And it was just me cutting fruit. This was at the start of it. Cutting fruit and, just saying, oh, not a course, blah, blah, blah. Here's some tips, whatever. But that thing got, this is big for me, at least. That thing got like 100+ views because obviously on Loom and in SendSpark, I think on SendSpark,
yeah,
you can see the views and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can see the comments. So I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And there's a preview. That was the coolest thing, is because in the comment, it'll actually show the preview of the video.
Yeah.
So I started thinking like, oh, that is really interesting. And I started trying it again. And I've never used these kind of video, their whole like value prop of save time. For some reason, I just never did it. Now I'm like all in on it because it does save me a lot of time rather than commenting. So that's like a side benefit of it. But I started doing it, and then you start getting, you can start again, see the views, see who's viewing it, which is actually kind of interesting sometimes, even though a lot of it's anonymous. But then you get people commenting on it, and they're like, oh, I really like these videos. And then there's a few people that posted about it, and I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. This is like a weekend of doing it. So the reason I started doing it is because it was different. Again, it's just different, and I am comfortable on camera because I create videos. I will say it's probably different for some people that aren't comfortable on video and think they can just shoot off the cuff, and just talk about something. I feel comfortable doing that, and it does. I've timed myself. It saves me time to create a 1-minute video talking about what I wanted to comment about rather than typing it out. So now it's just like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to save time too.
Well, I want to ask you about that because I get a lot of flack in this ChatGPT world we live in. I talk to a lot of sales minds who think I'm crazy because I don't have 100 rotated inboxes and I'm not sending out 50,000 emails every day. And when people see the comedy sketches, when they see the stuff I'm doing where I'm really interacting with my audience, they're like, I don't have time to do that. That doesn't scale, And they're right. But it's also like, I am so, as a person who relies on his brand and his image to be able to find work, I am so afraid of the spam box. I am so afraid. I don't want to be unsubscribed. I don't want to be sent to spam. It is very easy to ignore messages that are just, blasted out thousands at a time. Whereas like if someone leaves a video comment on your post, like there's like you've got a good chance they might actually watch it, So like, how do you square that? Do you ever like say like, oh God, this is not like efficient enough? Or is it like, I've come out to the other side where I'm like, actually, if I do something that's kind of clever and maybe it takes me a couple hours, I could potentially get seen by so many more people if this post is successful, but like, yeah, how do you deal with that? With the increasing pressure to like automate everything up to including your own video image, where like there are services that will deep fake you and like send you out in mass.
If there was a video that could, if this looked like if this was AI and it looked like this, I'd probably be in it, right? Don't get me wrong, I'd probably be all in on it. And I would check the work and, try to make sure it sounds like me and can actually do the right things. But you can just smell a lot of this AI stuff. So I'm not, for better or worse, because I do think I should be using it more. I don't use it a lot because I really should use it more, but it's just like, I like being the creative side of it. I'd rather do the comments because they come off, well, they are me. They are coming off as me because I can actually speak to that. I just don't have the best answer for it because I don't use it enough to say like, oh, I'm going to be able to automate all this stuff. I'm not a big fan in the automation to an extent. Like, I think there's obviously automation for a lot of things, but automating the creative people, like the creative work and the words that you, as a person, I don't believe in yet. Maybe it'll get to it at some point, but it just comes off like AI. Smells like AI, looks like AI. It's AI.
Yeah, and there are people who are not like me and Tim, who they don't like being creative. They don't like being on video.
Mm-hmm.
They wish they could have some alternative to that. If you're a person who likes to put creative stuff out there and like you get energy from creative work, then like, yeah, of course it's better to just go do it yourself. Real quick, we're going to get to our next segment in a minute. But Nadia says, haha, maybe I should whip up one vid right now and leave it in the comments. Yeah, Nadia, maybe you should. And actually, this is a great segue to Gimme Gimme, the second segment of the show. Tim, do you want to do Gimme Gimme?
Yeah,
let's do Gimme Gimme. Okay, so in case the audience doesn't know, we like to take a moment in the middle of the show to talk about what LinkedIn is really all about. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about LinkedIn. Some people say the only reason for LinkedIn is to selflessly add value and make friends and just give engagement and ask for nothing in return. But we all know what LinkedIn is really about. LinkedIn is the only website that was created solely for self-promotion. It's a place to tout your accomplishments, to show what you've done, to find paid work. So every once in a while, my guest and I like to take a moment. I like to pop into character, and we ask my audience for exactly what we want from them. So, Tim, are you ready to start Gimme Gimme?
Do it.
Let's do it. Hello, Boss Bogue here. Welcome to another episode of Gimme Gimme, the part of the show where I ask you for money. Tim Davidson, my audience is here. They're on LinkedIn. That means they got money. What do you want from them?
Go to my LinkedIn profile right now.
Yeah. I'll make it real easy for you. Right? Where is it? There it is.
Follow me.
Yeah, follow Tim.
Both. No, follow and connect. No, both. Up to you. Connect. Do it. Am I getting it? Yeah.
Yeah, we can't make it much clearer than this, folks. Go ahead and follow Tim Davidson.
Easy.
He has amazing content. He's funny. And guess what? I've seen the marketing you're all doing on LinkedIn, and it's awful. Okay? You could be doing a couple simple things. Go out there, cut a papaya or something. And if you don't know how to do that, start following Tim Davidson. He has great, actionable B2B marketing advice that'll actually help you get noticed in a world where it's very tough to get noticed on LinkedIn.
Fruit cutting course coming soon. No, it's not, but
it should. By the way, if you're watching this show, this is a good time to remind you that I want your money, right? I want your money. I am not doing this for charity. This is not PBS. The only reason I'm out here doing amazing content is because I have a business to run and I need clients. So if you want to have a fun time out there making video content that's actually going to drive revenue to your business, you need to hire Chris Bogue. I do corporate training. I do consulting. I do individual coaching. You can bring me in for a one-off 90-minute session, or you could bring me in for a longer commitment. I coach content creator teams. I coach sales teams how to do video prospecting. What is that, Tim?
Leave a tip.
Leave a tip. Oh yeah, you know what? If you want a tip, look, boom, we got a tip jar. Boom. You want to donate something to us? Go ahead and scan that barcode for the tip jar.
50%. Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
and you know what? I actually do have a course, and it's amazing. So we're going to be watching a promo for that in just a moment. It is the complete guide to selling on video. Folks, if your team is doing sales, they are either not doing video at all or they're doing it badly. Trust me, I have been around. I have seen teams trying to do video prospecting. It is mostly cringe. Most teams who pay for a Vidyard Pro account are not sending even 5 videos a month. It is bad. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to look at the camera. Get the complete guide to selling on video. It is going to teach you everything you need to know about on-camera performance, list building, LinkedIn audience growth, outbound strategies for every section of your pipeline. And guess what? It's full of original sketch comedy too. You're not going to get that from any other LinkedIn coach. All right, so we're going to watch an ad for that in just a moment. Before we do, Tim Davidson, do you have anything else you want to ask my audience for?
Follow me.
Yeah, go ahead and follow Tim. We'll put that up there in a minute, but for now, we're going to go ahead and Iggy, roll the tape. This has been Gimme Gimme.
Yeah.
Hey there, it's me, Dr. Funkenstein. There's a lot of yahoos on LinkedIn giving sales advice, so it's time to talk about the facts about video prospecting. My team pays for a Vidyard Pro license, but I only make 1 or 2 videos a month. Is that good? Great question. The answer is no. That's actually pretty fucking bad if you think about it. In the scientific industry, which again, I am not from, we call that pissing money down the drain. I recommend implementing a simple process to create video regularly and sticking to it. That sounds awfully hard. I think we'll just mess around with it for a few months and hope everything works out. Is that a good plan? You're asking all the right questions. The answer is no. Sticking around with no process is not an effective strategy for video prospecting. But my buyers already receive videos all the time. No one's gonna wanna watch old me on video, right? This is a common misconception. A study conducted by Chris Bogue Communications reveals that most sales teams are sending out 0 videos a month, which means even the most incompetent sales reps can get noticed with just the slightest bit of effort. Wow, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this video thing. No, you actually don't understand it yet. That requires time and learning, and I recommend purchasing Chris Bogue's complete guide to selling on video, the ultimate guide to incorporating short, strategic video into all stages of your sales pipeline. I feel like a big doofus whenever I have to write on a whiteboard, but I'll do it if you think that's the right thing, Dr. Funkenstein. No worries. Our research shows that the whiteboard thing is cringe and has been since at least 2021. The complete guide to selling on video will train you to speak in a more natural, conversational style to engage with your prospects. Plus, tips for LinkedIn audience growth. Wow, Chris Bogue's complete guide to selling on video must cost a fortune. Wrong again, my friend. The complete guide to selling on video retails for just $250 American dollars. One problem, Dr. Funkenstein. I'm cheap and broke, so that still feels like a lot of money to me. You're in luck, because for a limited time only, the complete guide to selling on video is available for just $99 when you use the promo code SALES at chrisbogue.io. Get it today. It's the funnest, most useful guide to sales you'll ever buy. Or my name's not Dr. Funkenstein.
Dr. Funkenstein is not a doctor, nor does he claim to be a doctor. Statements made by Dr. Funkenstein are of his own opinion and do not reflect the opinions of Chris Bogue or Chris Bogue Communications LLC. Talk to your head of sales enablement to learn if video prospecting is right for you. Side effects include confidence on camera, increased pipeline velocity, and mild bouts of laughter. If you took offense to the whiteboard joke, please contact Dr. Funkenstein directly to learn about joining our newsletter.
And we're back. Oh Lord, Tim, what do you? Did you bring us? You brought a sword.
Katana.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, hey everybody. I'm back here with my conversation with Tim Davidson. We've been talking a little bit about some of the unusual things Tim has done to get noticed with his marketing on LinkedIn. And this second half is more for you, audience. So if you want to start getting out there, if you want to put more creative marketing out there that's going to attract the right people to your business, we're going to be talking about some simple things you can do to start putting stuff out there and make sure you're successful. So if anybody has a question, go ahead, drop it in the comments. We are going to be getting deep on all your questions here. But yeah, Tim, I want to start here. So, yeah, I guess what kind of principles do you follow when you're making creative content? Do you start with a topic in mind, and how do you select topics to make videos about?
Yeah. So I do start with the topic. And a lot of times the topics are based off of things I've seen, whether it's work in the past. So maybe it's a topic I've talked about with like LinkedIn ads. And I know that there was comments having questions about this certain spot, or it's something new that I'm experimenting with. And I know people think that it's interesting because I have a different perspective on it, or have results that no one else has. So there's usually a topic there. And so to your question, a lot of it now is based off of like the content I've put out. So I have tried different buckets of things I want to talk about, like the sales process being really bad. And that's always a hot topic. So that's always a good one to talk about in just a different way. But before that, I was doing it based off of common themes within sales calls and just things I was hearing when I was on the client side, like working with a bunch of different clients, but also just seeing out there on LinkedIn and what was popular. It's not the best answer because it's kind of everywhere, but it always does start with a topic based on the core things I like to talk about. And then I just figure out like, how do I talk about that in a different way, or with new data, or from comments or something like that I've seen recently.
Well, I do think it's interesting that you started by like, you said you were gathering the topics from like actual teams you were working with as part of like the consulting you were doing at the time. You know, I guess, is there any place you see companies go wrong on topic selection? Because the more I do this, the more, whenever I see someone be like, oh, here's my 3 cold calling tips, I'm like, is this actually what you wanted to talk about? Or is this like what you think a LinkedIn video is supposed to be? But again, this is kind of an unusual question because I don't even really know where my ideas come from sometimes.
Yeah.
I guess a better question would be like, how do you know when you picked a bad topic? How do you know when you like, what do you kind of look at? What are the indicators as far as the data goes when you're like, man, you know what? I thought it was going to be good to talk about blah, blah, blah. But like, I guess the data shows me that I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think you just get the real-time feedback on it. Whether it's from just like the LinkedIn posts, just not doing as well as some of the other topics you talk about, or you don't see the comments that you usually get. And I preface it with that because there's times that you just don't get good reach or impressions, or it's time of the day, or whatever, your video just tanks because, or your post just tanks because of whatever reason. Doesn't mean it's or your delivery doesn't mean it's the topic. And that in those cases, I'll try it again in a different way. But you can definitely see in the comments sometimes just like no interest there, or it's just not the best thing. No one really wants to talk about it, or no one, it's like all those lame comments like, oh, nice, or cool, like great job. But there's no like, you want some like invoking questions or comments that are like invoking, some sort of better discussion, I guess. That's how I kind of look at it, I guess. And I also there's also just topics, people that's going to do well because a lot of people are talking about them.
Like what?
And I don't say just like on LinkedIn, I mean like sales calls. So I always hear, like, I listen to a lot of like, we use Gong, and I listen to a lot of sales calls. So if I start hearing the same different companies talk about the same thing, like we don't know how to or I'm trying to think of a good example recently. Like LinkedIn ads. No one knows how to do it. So I'm like, okay, everyone's just talking to us on sales calls about it. Like they don't know how to even set it up, or they did this wrong, or they're using like audience expansion. I'm like, okay, well, that's a theme that I'm seeing within all these sales calls. So why not just talk about it?
Why is it so hard to do LinkedIn ads? And why is, like, I think I know what audience expansion means, but can you explain that a little further for anybody who's listening to this episode who might not be like super familiar with that term?
Audience expansion essentially is, if you're on LinkedIn, you create a campaign and you say, let's just say, just for simplicity, I want to target these companies and these job titles. Within LinkedIn, you can say audience, you can click audience expansion, which will essentially broaden those job titles and the people you're going to talk to. So it brings in a lot of people that are not job titles that you want to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like telling the AI within LinkedIn, I want more job titles like this. It's not the best AI. Let's just say that.
Interesting. You'd think it would be better because they have so much data about us, you know? Yeah, no, I hear you. I like this question from Paul. So Paul asked Tim, based off your experience and insight, do you think content creators should exclusively use video or still mix it up with text and photo posts?
Ooh. The true answer is it does depend because not everyone's comfortable on a video. One, they do take longer than text posts. Not everyone's comfortable. If you got to find your kind of angle as well. So like you want to make it easy because some people would spend, and I've done this many times and I still do, spend too much time on it, and then you basically just burn out from it, or you don't because you put like 5 hours into it and then you put it out and you get no kind of good feedback. You're not going to keep doing it over and over and over again. So I say it depends because it really depends on like your creativity, your personality, really the time you have as well, your kind of goal with it. Because text posts can do really well. A lot of people actually say text posts will get a lot more impressions, views, reach than videos. I found that to be different, but I think it's just because I create more videos now. I also think there's a mix of all. I wouldn't say you should just do video. I think you need all of them.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't just do I sell myself as a video guy because like that's the niche that I serve, and I just noticed there's no good instruction for this. Like business schools haven't even begun to teach video for sales. It's just not something they're doing yet. But yeah, like if people actually follow my content closely, you'll see that like the videos are part of a larger strategy. And kind of like what my process looks like is like every 2 weeks I have a live stream. I will do polls, I will do text posts, I will do image posts, but it's all based on a theme. I've got my guest. We're coming on to talk about something. So like Tim was my guest this week. So our theme was show up uninvited. So all the content was about showing up in weird places, doing unexpected things. I wrote a comedy sketch about that. Tim and I did it together. And as I'm doing these things, as people are reacting to the content, I am inviting them to the live event. I'm getting them. I'm using that signal. Okay, they're interested in this topic. Maybe they're going to come see the show. And then the next time I do a show, who's the first group of people I invite? Everybody who attended the last show, and it builds. And like, so we've got Nadia. So Nadia Milani is in the audience here. I'm going to be checking out her Loom video in a minute. Nadia, her episode's going to be about preparation. Right, she works for Proposify. They're all about giving like cool tools that sellers can use for their presentations, for their documents. And so yeah, our episode is all about how do you prepare? How do I prepare? How do I prepare when I do comedy? How do I prepare when I do a live show? How do I prepare when I do a sales presentation? But that allows me I can do a text post about that. I can do an image of me behind the scenes showing what my setup looks like. I can ask poll questions to my audience about how they prepare. And so what I'm doing is I'm building up the interest. I'm seeing who's interested in this topic. I'm sending out invites to the live show. And that's my strategy. So I don't have to be racking my brain about what I'm going to write about every day. I bring the guest on to talk about a specific topic. And that topic informs my content strategy for the next 2 weeks, and yeah, it's like, if it was just video, I would probably get burnt out on video. But now the video is something that I look forward to because I'm like, oh, cool, Tim's coming on. We can do like a weird thing where he's cutting fruit and we're like commenting with videos. And I really just try to like lean into like, what is it that my guest does that's interesting that I have in common with them, I will say here too. So about the video based stuff. I don't know. I feel like I asked this question to everybody, but you're a good person to ask this to. So like there is this need to be perfect that people feel. And people don't want to put themselves out there on video because they're afraid, like, maybe someone's going to make fun of them. And it sounds like, based on what you mentioned about TikTok earlier in the conversation, that sometimes happens to you. So how did you get to the point where you could just do this? And how do you deal with the criticism when somebody doesn't like your videos and criticizes you openly on a platform like TikTok?
It's not the best answer because it's every answer for pretty much everything. Just do it a few times and you'll kind of get used to it type of answer. It's just the truth. The first video I did create for LinkedIn, I created it, edited it, sat on it for like 3 weeks because I was worried about the feedback. I was worried that, you know, I would look weird on it. And the feedback, I didn't get a lot of engagement. I didn't get a lot of everything. I just had a couple people comment on it that were people that I already knew. So it's not like they were going to comment bad anyway. Mm-hmm. But I saw enough, like, kind of enough there that I wanted to keep creating them. And then as you create them, you start to, you know, you'll get bad and good comments. But you just learn that even if you do put out something that's kind of like not perfect, and obviously it's never going to be perfect, the people just forget. Just think about it from like your point of view. The amount of things you see on your feed, like, no one cares. People are people. No one cares. I actually start to leave in faults in my videos just to show, like, you know, it's not perfect. And it's actually kind of funny sometimes if you just leave in like the mistakes that I always make, you know, a lot of mine have like so many different cuts because I always make mistakes on the wording and stuff like that. I actually think they're valuable now to have them in the video when you place it right. I just think the perfection thing is it's a mindset thing. I still have it for a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. You just got to kind of realize no one cares and people forget all the time. Like,
yeah. And there's a thing I've noticed too. So there's, and you might actually have data on this. So when you get deep into video content, you start realizing that there is different types of people who engage with your content. Mm-hmm. And here are two personality types that I've not figured out how to identify this yet. So imagine, audience, one person who likes you, they like your content, they see you posted a video, and they go, oh, Tim posted a video. That's probably good. I don't have time to watch it, so I'm just going to click the like button and keep scrolling. That is a thing people do. I have had dozens of amazing content creators on this show. If Tim Davidson and Robert Jones and Will Aitken and Jen Allen and Todd Clauser, if we all post at the same time, I literally do not have enough time to watch everybody's video. And maybe I'll click the like button because I like that person. I want to support that person. But that doesn't mean that I watched it. And that also doesn't mean that, like, it was a bad video. You know, I didn't have time to watch it. The other type of person you'll get is somebody who watches the entire thing front to back, shares it with somebody, talks about it, never clicks the like button, never connects with you, never talks to you. Oftentimes, I will have people who will reach out to me. They will inbound for my coaching or consulting. They're not a first connect, but they'll be like, I've been watching your stuff for 2 years, you know? And I'm like, why didn't you ever click the like button? You know? So, like, do you have a good way of finding, like, how people are engaging? Do you understand, like, how deeply they're watching the videos? Is this something you think about as a professional marketer and content creator? Like, I'm just curious.
I do think about it a lot. So TikTok actually gives you that kind of data of, like, YouTube too, like the view through, like, where people drop off. LinkedIn doesn't. I hope they do at some point. But funny enough, like what you were saying, like, people don't even like it or comment on it. When I first started doing it, one of my best friends who was in my wedding sent me a screenshot of one of them in, like, with a laughing emoji in a group message text that we are in. Mm-hmm. He's never liked them, never commented them, never once. I'm like, I didn't even know you. And he's like, oh, I watch them all. I'm like, okay, this is great. You want to help the algo or anything? Like, come on. But no, it happens all the time. And you get all those people that don't comment. I do that too. I'm at fault too.
That is the most common behavior on the internet. Most people, and again, audience, think of yourself. How many times have you been scrolling through? You see a picture of a cute animal, you see a picture of a beautiful landscape, you see a picture of somebody doing something cool, and you're like, oh wow, that looks cool. And then you just keep scrolling.
Yeah, I'll take screenshots, but you can't track that. There's definitely screenshots in there that I've not posts that I've not linked or commented or liked or commented on, and people just don't know. It's because I have the screenshot. To your question, so I can sometimes tell if someone watched the whole video because depending on, it's not all videos, but depending on what I'm talking about, sometimes I'll explain something further in the video. So if I get a comment like asking about something like, oh, I know you did not watch that spot. I don't care. It's just you can tell from that. But I mean, truthfully, I don't care. I don't care about, people. I know that because I'm at fault at that as well. I know it's just a thing. You just got to kind of play with it.
For me, I always throw a surprise in the last 3 seconds of the video. That's my thing. I was taught by my friends who are successful YouTubers and TikTokers, and the advice that terrified me that I tell my coaching clients is, I'm like, okay, you're making YouTube videos. Well, I've got bad news for you. Every 5 to 10 seconds, you might lose your audience. Like, there's always a danger that you're going to lose them. And I structure my videos so every moment pulls you into the next moment. And I always have some sort of surprise. There's some sort of a joke, some sort of a callback, some sort of something at the end of the video. And I know it worked when people start commenting about that last thing in there, and I'm like, oh, this person really did watch the whole thing, because they wouldn't have gotten that. They wouldn't have commented with that reference had they not watched the last 3 seconds, I want to ask you too, just because you keep talking about TikTok, how much TikTok do you do? How much are you doing different videos for TikTok and LinkedIn? And in full disclosure, I used to be really into TikTok. I have been not doing TikTok as much for the past couple months. And I'm actually like, it's better for my business to do my stuff on LinkedIn. But what kind of balance have you seen, and how big of a role does TikTok play in your success?
Yeah, I same as you. I used to do it a lot more videos, different kind of videos. There's so much more for me. There's so much more to do on LinkedIn that I might post on TikTok maybe a couple times a week, just videos I make for LinkedIn. Yeah. I'll use TikTok still to add on music that I think is appropriate. Outside of that, it just it's not as valuable. There's so much more to do in LinkedIn right now that I'd rather spend the time there. Same with Instagram Reels, same with YouTube. I understand I really should, diverse. It does scare me at some point that LinkedIn could just drop my account, just ban me. But I'll make another one. I'll start commenting with Loom videos, and then it'll be fine. But I do think there's just so much more opportunity for me, at least on LinkedIn, that I don't spend too much time on those other platforms, especially TikTok. I like TikTok. It's just this is not valuable.
Yeah, TikTok is exhausting to me. I don't actually like. I watch it and I get tired after 5 minutes. Whereas like I would rather watch long form stuff on YouTube. I like Paul's comment here. He said, TikTok is very negative. One thing that content creators don't realize that I talk about all the time is LinkedIn is the only social network for adults. Like there are no children here, no. And that means you don't have to compete with teenagers. And guess what? A lot of the trolls online are like young people. Like they're like 12 and 13-year-olds who are shit posting. And that's where a lot of the really crazy comments come from. But LinkedIn is a website where pretty much everybody's an adult. There is a higher level of education on LinkedIn. You have more people who are educated on LinkedIn than other websites. And everybody's personal identity and company name is tied to their account, which means people tend to be nicer and more supportive. And guess what? there's also not a whole lot of creative content on there. You know, it is cookie cutter stuff. Yep. If you're just a little bit interesting, you can build an audience, you know? So Tim, this has been a fascinating conversation. Unfortunately, we're getting to the end here. So I gotta throw Natalie's question up here because I'm sure the audience wants to know, Tim, what is your favorite fruit to cut? Not to eat.
Yeah, okay. All right. That's a good distinction.
The cutting experience is what we're interested in here, Tim. If you had to only cut one kind of fruit, this is the only form of enjoyment you have anymore. Which one fruit are you going to pick?
Oh, it's such a tough one because it's actually really fun to cut different fruits. But I would have to say pineapple would have to be it.
Okay. Why pineapple?
Because I obviously we're not talking about the eating part, which I do love pineapple, but it's big enough and there's enough things you can do with the creativity behind it that make the videos better. It's just the truth. You can do a lot more. You can throw it up in the air. You cut it with a katana. You get the whole green thing at the top, the whole stem at the top, or you can do stuff with it. You can cut that right in half and it looks cool. You get a lot more fruit out of it, so you can spend more time on the videos. Kiwi.
Ooh, if you haven't done this yet, I'm gonna give you one right now that you can do. Cut that pineapple up and then throw it on the grill.
That's not my thing, though.
No, you don't do the.
That's not my skit. I'm not a cooker. It's not my thing. I cook, but I don't cook in the videos.
I mean,
one day.
Then don't grill the pineapple. Then it's just,
I'm probably not. Yeah,
an idea came to my head. But yeah, so this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you very much for coming on, Tim. We're gonna wrap things up here. Before we do, let's just go ahead and give ourselves one more chance. Everybody, if you've not followed Tim Davidson, go scan the QR code. Where I'm pointing right here. Tim is an amazing guy. He's super fun. I'm super glad to be connected with him. Tim, do you have any last plugs here? Well, I got you.
No, this is awesome. Thanks for having me on. Someone did mention vegetables. There needs to be a vegetable cutter on LinkedIn. I need like an antagonist. That'd be fun. That'd be like a fun thing.
Yeah, you can
also go ahead.
No, Nadia can be your rival. She was talking about cutting onions. Like she could be your arch nemesis.
I'm in for that. But also buy the course. Buy Chris's course.
Oh yeah, I'll throw that up here. Go ahead. Scan this QR code. As you heard in there, it's available only for $99 for the rest of May. Turns out my data says it sells better at $250. So if you want to snag this bad boy for $99, for some reason it sells better when it's more expensive. So you can go get it. Like anything, I work way too hard on it. If you think I put a lot of work into a 90-second video, wait till you see how much work I put into 2.5 hours of a course. That thing took me several months to build, but it is. And once again, I am Chris Bogue. Thank you, everybody, for listening to and joining another episode of Chris Sells His Soul. Liked today's episode, join us 2 weeks from now. We do this every 2 weeks at 6 p.m. Central on LinkedIn Live. And if you want to have some fun, go back. You can listen to old episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. So whether that's Apple or Spotify or Google Podcasts or Stitcher, you can go listen to past episodes of Chris Sells His Soul, conversations about how to monetize creativity, how to use your creative skills to sell and market yourself. I'm updating new episodes all the time, and those episodes are shorter and faster because I take the time to edit them. So check it out. Thanks for watching. And Tim, say bye, everybody.
See ya. Peace up. A-Town down.